Welcome back to Marketing Champions here in Daily Ad Brief. I'm Howard Walpuff, your host. Again, we're talking about marketing with marketing experts from around the country. Today, we're in Westchester, Pennsylvania with Andrew Maffettone of BlueTuskr. And Andrew, welcome to our conversation today.
Thanks for having me, Howard. Appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you and excited to learn a lot more about you. So why don't you start us off with sharing how you got your start in the marketing industry?
Sure. I've been in the e-commerce digital marketing space for about 15 years now. It was actually one of my first jobs. I've been in and out of agencies. Obviously, at this point now, I also have owned my own agencies. I've also been in and out of several different, very large e-commerce sellers effectively running their marketing. So I've been pretty much doing it my whole career.
Well, e-commerce is a huge part of our economy and really exploded even more so during the pandemic. But there's a lot of people out there, and sometimes they cannot get themselves found to sell what they have on sale. How are you working with your clients to make sure they're getting the exposure they need to drive those sales?
So that really kind of depends on the product line and obviously what the target audience is. We effectively act as an outsourced marketing department for a lot of the sellers where we work with. So we have the benefit of being able to leverage more content, or maybe we need more paid media, or maybe we need more retention marketing, or whatever is necessary for that product line. So really, it kind of comes down to knowing your audience, knowing where they're at, and then knowing how to communicate with them. And then obviously making sure that you're giving them enough value for them to want to work with your business.
How challenging is it when you're sitting down with a new client and you deal with different types of companies that are selling different types of products? How challenging is it to crack into a market that's really that might be full, that you as your client wants to get their messaging out, but there are a lot of the same people out there. How are you helping differentiate them?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ends of the spectrum of that, right? You have those that are in a wildly competitive space, and you have those that have no competition. And the struggle there is that no one knows your product exists. So that's difficult as well. Usually, when you're working in a space with a lot of competition, the differentiators are really coming down to finding that niche audience. Usually, when there's a lot of competition, that means there's a very general audience that is willing to shop with whatever product line this is. So if you can actually narrow down and really communicate to a very specific type of audience, it can really help you stand out. If you think of like the Yetis of the world is the best example I can give you, where there was a ton of coolers out there, but Yeti made it really cool to get like an industrial cooler for tailgating and for going to the beach. And they carved out that niche and was able to grow it from there. So really, when we start working with someone that's in a really competitive space, we take a very similar approach to figuring out which audience needs to be spoken to in a more personalized way, and how can we kind of scale that communication and obviously get that audience to start shopping with us.
Now, there's a lot of different platforms and options out there, and granted, it also depends on who the company is and who the target market is. But what platforms are
Mhm.
you seeing the most success in helping to drive sales these days?
Uh, the typical tech stack that we end up working with definitely is Shopify. That tends to be the biggest one from an e-commerce platform, side of the market. That's definitely the leader right now. Klaviyo does a great job with retention marketing for email marketing and SMS. Triple Whale is something that's really started to come up. They just got a big funding. They just did a big round through Shopify that basically is allowing people in paid media to be able to track attribution ever since that issue several years ago with the iOS change. If you're a B2B e-commerce seller, which we work with a lot of those, HubSpot's a great way to implement a CRM that also has D2C capabilities. And then outside of that, you have your standard stuff like your Google Analytics that you're obviously going to want to know like the back of your hand to be able to dig into any type of data. Outside of that, it really comes down to the specific product line and what's going to be necessary and more beneficial for that business as well as that customer base.
Well, you definitely have a vast knowledge of the industry and how to help promote those within the industry. So it's really great that you joined us today. We really appreciate that, and thank you much for your time and expertise.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
And thank you all for joining us as well. The e-commerce business can be challenging, it can be very crowded, but having the right resources to help get your product seen and heard by your audience and really teach them the different reasons why they need to connect with you and your product. It's all about having that right team behind you. There's a lot of information about BlueTuskr here on Daily Ad Brief, so please check that out. But go ahead, have a great rest of today, and we'll see you next time on Marketing Champions.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.